18-year-old. Germany have now launched voluntary military service for 18-year-old men. It could become compulsory, and they are now putting into law that all fighting age men up to the age of 45, are going to have to ask permission to leave the country for more than 3 months. France, similarly, are going to be introducing voluntary national service this summer. They'll pay people for 10 months. And you think back to Rishi Sunak and his plans for voluntary national service and how people sort of derided him, but you do wonder whether ultimately this might be coming, and whether we are living in a world where we haven't quite caught up to the fact that things are very, very dangerous. Well, yeah, Germany have now launched voluntary military service.
Hey, shalom, shalom. Call hello, YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHWASHI, BAHASHAM, QADASH. Let's give all praise to the Most High, in the name of His only begotten Son, in the name of the Holy Spirit. Double honors to our teachers, the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who taught us His truth, and truth is sincerity. Peace and salutations to the hopeful scattered abroad. And shalom to 144,000. Real quick, man. It says, absolute panic in Europe. GB News confirms Germany is preparing to ban fighting age men from leaving the country as they edge toward compulsory military service. France is also launching national service. Western governments are quietly preparing their citizens for World War III. Okay, and you just heard, what we just heard down here in America, how they're making the draft automatic now. Okay, and they're saying, as soon as December, all right, they're going to start automatically drafting people, which shows you that a lot of these men are going to go die in these wars, man. All right. And these countries are taking precautions to make sure that the military men are still going to be there. So they're not going to allow them to leave the country. Okay. Scripture says you shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. All right. Your freedoms as a man, you are going to be forced to go and fight for these devils, man. And basically, they can determine whether or not you can leave the country because they want you to fight in that military. And they said up to age 45. So the age limit is going to keep going up, man. They showed you that in Ukraine, where all the military men got grabbed up. It was getting snatched off the street, and eventually there was no men left, okay, in Ukraine, and those women was left without men, to the point they started drafting those women. You had old women in the military, All right, so let's see. It's a few more videos. Oh, no, that's it. Says, let that sink in. Governments across Europe are quietly building systems to control where citizens can go and who must stay. Yeah, and this is why they want to see travel restrictions. I wanted to see the other day about the social credit system in China. They have these flock cameras and 5G towers down here with smart cities, and it's all leading up into that, man, so they can control the people. It says, let that sink in. Governments across Europe are quietly building systems to control where citizens can go and who must stay. This isn't a conspiracy theory, it's legislation. The people most exposed built their lives around one employer, one paycheck, one country's permission. The question isn't whether it's coming, it's whether you've built anything to protect yourself. And this is something I've been telling the Akim as well, bro. Hey, man, this shit about to switch, and you want to be in a better position, man. Okay? The Lord has said, use the world, it's not abusing the world. Okay? Don't tempt Yahweh Shai as well, too. So as this world is changing, as us being Jacob finessers, you better learn this system as well too and use it to the best of your ability. That's why you got brothers getting into the crypto, the trading, stuff, just different stuff, bro, that Jake wasn't usually into, to make things better. Okay, at least until that MOTB come, because we know the MOTB, as far as the implant, there's going to be a digital system first, and a cashless system, and then eventually it's going to go to the MOTB. But in the midst of all that, we got to survive. And the Lord is going to make a way out for us, bro. Okay, but a lot of these people, a lot of these men are going to get destroyed in this time we're coming into. And this just go to show you these nations are preparing for it. It says, here's what most people are missing. Location independence isn't a lifestyle flex anymore. It's a risk management strategy. When your income is tied to showing up somewhere physically, an office, a job site, a country, you don't have options, you have obligations. And that's true. Okay, I'm at this damn job right now. And they said, earlier this week, 10-hour days all week for the foreseeable future. And I got to come in on the weekends. So I'm just working, being overworked, okay? You get off, you want to go work out, you want to go do what you want to do. You don't have time for that anymore. You go home, you're tired, you're exhausted, you fall asleep and come back. So pretty much you get put into a perpetual sense of slavery, man. And that's what these elites want to, okay? And to the point where they don't even need you anymore. Eventually they're just going to cast you off anyways. But this is why we got to start, looking for different ways in this, society, so you don't become you don't have these obligations, That's why we built income that follows us, not income that traps us. So they're about to go, they're going into, using AI to make, your income count or whatever. But the point of this lesson I want to go into is that the fact that these nations are getting ready for war, man. All right, they're getting ready to round up all these men and send them to war. All right, so this is Bible prophecy. This is Revelation chapter 11 and verse 14. The second war was past, which means world war. Woe means destruction. Okay, this is symbolic for the world war. So the second world war is past, and behold, the third world war cometh quickly. Right, so we're going to see this thing play out in our lifetimes, man. Okay, let's grab this too. Because they saying how they going to stop people, military or military age fighting men from leaving the country. That's the freedom that's been taken away. You ain't going to be able to leave the country. You're going to be a fugitive, an outcast, if you don't want to go to this military. They're going to start imprisoning people who reject, this draft. Second Ezra chapter 15 and verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. These wars, but ultimately, even these citizens bucking up against their government because they don't want to go to war, For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. It's going to get real Mad Max out here. Okay, it says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. That's the point I want to grab, because they said how you ain't going to be able to leave your country, okay? If you a military aged man, they going to ban you from leaving the country very soon, man. Okay? So that you will be available when the draft comes. All right? And then they might do the same thing here in America. So ain't gonna be no more passport bros. All right, it says, for because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid, and men shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy the houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of lack of bread and for great tribulation. And we coming into a time of great tribulation, man. All right, well, we tell you Jakes to repent and to get right. All right, because the time we're coming into, it's about to get real bad, man. Okay. Verse 26, for the Lord knoweth all them that sin against him, and therefore delivereth he them into death and destruction. For now are the plagues come upon the whole earth, and ye shall remain in them. For the Most High shall not deliver you, because ye have sinned against him. And this is what the time we're coming into. A lot of these men are going to get, destroyed in these plagues, man. Let me grab this too. All right. And as time goes on, we're gonna keep bringing these precepts out to drive the point home, to show you what's coming. Can't say you wasn't warned. Joel chapter 3 and verse 9, it says in the AMP, proclaim this among the pagan nations, these heathens, right? The Gentiles. Prepare a war. And that's what these nations are doing. They're preparing a war, man. They're getting ready for war. All right. They know what's coming. They see it coming down the pike. So they're preparing for war. And this is why they're, issuing out, plans for a draft in all these countries. This is why they're buying more military weapons, and, they're not buying more agriculture and seeds and devices for planting, because ain't nobody gonna be there to eat the food if everybody dead from the war. Everybody got sent off and drafted. Okay, bringing it back, it says, proclaim ye this among the pagan nations, prepare a war, stir up the mighty men. And this is what YAHAWASHI is doing. It says, stir up the mighty men. In the KJV, it says, wake up the mighty men. And this is what YAHAWASHI is doing via these nations, preparing their citizens for World War III quietly, man. Getting ready for a draft, for war. It says, let all the men of war come near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares and the swords and your pruning hooks and the spears, which are farming tools, to make, crops and whatnot. Yeah, people ain't gonna be making crops. They ain't gonna be worried about food and planting. They ain't gonna be worried about trying to kill one another, kick, invasions and whatnot. All right. So this is where all these countries are sending all their resources into preparing for war. All right. It says, "Let the weak say I am strong." And now these weak nations, once weak nations, are now saying they're strong because they got nuclear missiles. Okay. They have bargains. They have strategic um, setups that they're willing to bargain. Nah, man. Okay. And they're not just bowing down to this devil anymore. It says, "Hurry and come, all you surrounding nations, gather yourselves there. Bring down, O Lord, your mighty ones, your warriors. Let the nations be stirred to action and come to the valley of Jehoshaphat," which is Bible prophecy. They're going to gather over there in that so-called Middle East, right? For there I will sit to judge and punish all the surrounding nations. Yeah, the Lord gathering these nations down there. He's putting in their spirits to go down there so he can punish them, so he can destroy them. He can bring judgment upon them. It says, "Put in the sickle of judgment, for the harvest is ripe. Come tread the grapes, for the winepress is full. The vats overflow, for the wickedness of the people is great." And that's the thing. These people have been so wicked. Now it's time for the Lord to start judging them. So you're going to start seeing a lot of, bodies hitting the floor in these last days, man. Okay. Reading on, it says, multitudes in the valley of decision. So what? Multitudes of armies from these other nations, man. Okay. Multitudes in the valley of decision. Judgment, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision, when judgment is executed. Yeah, so we're about to see this judgment get executed. Okay, and a lot of these men are about to die in these wars. So what does that mean? That means that it's gonna be a lot of bloodshed, man. A lot of people getting sent off into these battles and they're not coming back, man. Let's read that. Let's go ahead and grab that real quick. It says 2nd Ezra chapter 16 and verse, just getting right to the point, verse 32. It says, "And the earth shall be laid waste, and the fields thereof shall wax old." Yeah, because there ain't gonna be nobody to till the fields and trim the hedges and none of that. Cut the grass. This place is going to deteriorate. It's going to shut down. And once these men get sent off to war, you remember with World War II, you had a lot of the men that get sent off to war, and they had to have the women working in the factories and whatnot, right? They had to send the women into the workforce. So once all these men get sent off to war, these women ain't going to be, ready or able to, maintain all these jobs. And then now you got where they want to draft the women too. "The virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. Their women shall mourn, having no husbands." Yeah, they're going to be, if you got a husband, he going to get sent off to war and end up getting deleted. Okay, and if you don't got one and you're looking for one, they ain't going to find one because he going to be already off at war, getting deleted. Okay, "The virgins shall mourn, having no husbands, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers." So there's going to be a shortage of men out here. This is why the men of the Lord, the elect men, are going to be so valuable, high value men. Because why? They're going to be the only men left. Okay? They're going to be the only men left, man. All right, so when this draft does come, we're going to tell Esau, F you to your face. They're going to lock us up, whatever they intend on doing. And then people who do get drafted will go over there and die anyways. And then those of us that, end up in prison or on the run for not wanting to get drafted, eventually shit gonna cool down and the Lord gonna make a way out for us, and we gonna be the only men left. It's the time we're coming into. It says, "In the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed." Yeah, so these are the wars they're preparing for your bridegrooms to be destroyed over there. Okay, you got people that still joining the military. You ain't coming back. It says, "In the war shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. Hear now these things and understand them, ye servants of the Lord." You're supposed to understand this, man. You're supposed to take this in the heart. Take this into consideration. Take this serious. It says, "Behold the word of the Lord, receive it. Believe not the gods of whom the Lord spake." Yeah, don't be following these false gods, telling you it's all going to be okay. Peaches and cream. This is about to get very, very ugly in this country. Very uncomfortable as well, too. "Behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack." So these plagues ain't going to stop, bro. Okay? These plagues going to keep coming. I went into this the other day. make you ready to the battle, even as pilgrims. You ain't gonna be able to just, sit in your house in the AC watching Netflix very much longer. You gonna have to, be on the move, be on the run. Dosh, what they had? Draft dodgers. All right, you had draft dodgers that was getting locked up and, put in prison for not wanting to go fight in this damn war. So that's coming again, man. Stay circumspect, stay alert. Stay in the spirit. We in some very, very evil times. Shalom, coming through. I love Ball. And things can very well speed up, bro. Okay? Come on, December. It could be next month. Shalom.